In case you missed it, Al Gore is back. But instead of saying we're going to get burned alive, now there's a coming ice age within 25 years. He was out on stage here just recently, and he was talking all about the day after, apocalyptic film about a coming ice age. And he failed to point out that, 25 years ago, or 20 years ago, he said we only had 25 years, whatever. The fact of the matter is Al Gore's doom predictions keep coming up, and, well, they continue to be wrong. Steve Gruber is the executive director of the Climate Science Coalition of America and an advisor to the Heartland Institute. Steve, good morning.
Steve, great to join you again.
Nice to have you here. These people have been wrong for 50 years. They've made one prediction after another. They included mass global famine, rising sea levels, increasingly powerful storms. None of this has happened. I mean, last year we didn't even have a hurricane that made landfall in America for the first time in a decade. Before that, we had the longest stretch of no major hurricanes for several years, like a decade. We have the same amount of tornadoes in America. Michigan has not seen an EF5 tornado since 1973. And they want you to believe that somehow the world's getting more dangerous, all these terrible things, and then they come out with a completely new prediction about doom and gloom. I mean, come on. Can we just make these people go away?
Well, you are up on the data. Yeah, if you look at history, the storms aren't getting stronger. Sea levels are rising the same rate they've been rising for 20,000 years, a lot of other things. But fear is a powerful motivator. And former Vice President Gore recently spoke at an event hosted by the Hollywood Reporter and the Sustainable Entertainment Alliance. Our entertainment has to be sustainable. And he said that the Gulf Stream, there's a recent study, and the Gulf Stream is going to shut down. And this is the same thing that came out 20 years ago in the movie The Day After Tomorrow, if you've seen it. But the whole idea is that ice melting in Greenland would dump all this fresh water in the Atlantic and shut down the Gulf Stream. And it's based on the recent warming we've had, the gentle warming. The problem is with this whole theory is that we've had many times multi-century long periods in the last 10,000 years when it was warmer than today, and the Gulf Stream didn't shut down. So again, the alarmists are there, and they're scaring up all kinds of fear with people, but there's really no evidence for what they're claiming.
Is there any evidence for a coming ice age? I mean, I remember seeing an ice age back in the day on Time magazine, front cover. There it was, coming ice age. We're going to have to. In fact, people like Bill Gates had a plan to dump soot on the polar ice caps, black soot, so we could, keep the place warmer. And then they said, well, no, we can't do that because we have, global warming. And now it's global. Just stop. The fact is, they have no damn idea what they're talking about, ever.
That was the thing in the 70s. We had some gentle cooling from about 1940 to 1970, and many professors, many others were saying we were due for the next ice age coming. But then a lot of these people turned around the next 10 years and started to talk about global warming. But the ice ages are part of a natural cycle of Earth caused by the heavens, the tilt of the Earth's axis, our orbit, and other things. There probably will be another one coming. The warm periods are only about 10 or 15,000 years long. Hopefully, we're not all here when that thing starts. But the idea that humans can create it, that's where we've really gone off base.
Yeah, there's just no evidence of that. And it's interesting because Al Gore preaches this doom and gloom while flying on private jets, while living in a mansion. Barack Obama preached a lot of this, and he's bought not one but two mansions at the seaside. One in Martha's Vineyard, one in Hawaii. He's not too worried about sea level rise, apparently. He built brand new mansions at the water's edge, right?
Yeah, they're very hypocritical in many ways. John Kerry says he has to fly all over in private planes because his work on climate is so important. It's this powerful fear. And by the way, we've had a couple instances in the 20th century when we had the same thing. We had peak oil. Everybody preached we were going to run out of oil and gas. And then we had an overpopulation fear. Paul Ehrlich just died, as you may know. He said in his book, The Population Bomb, that hundreds of millions of people are going to die in the 1980s. But that was another fear that didn't occur. Now we have 6 of 7 continents in the world where the fertility rate is not large enough to sustain the population. But we get in all these scares, and the leaders of the world adopt these, and all kinds of policies are put into place, and it turns out they're wrong. And the fear of man-made warming is the latest version of this.
Yeah. You said something about cycles, and I think it's important to mention the Milankovitch cycles, which is all of these different cycles, the rotation of the Earth, the way we move in the solar system, the way that the Earth tilts on its axis. All of these things play incredibly important roles in what it's going to be like. And to be fair, I'd like it to be a bit warmer because heat and water create life. CO2 is the gas of life, they taught me in elementary school. I don't think that changed. Right? CO2 is the gas of life. Now they want to tell you that it's somehow poison to the earth. It's certainly not. The absurdity of it all, Steve, is remarkable. I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this superstition is going to pass away. And by the way, we have many people around the world now that are moving toward a realism again, away from climatism, away from net zero. We have major political parties across the world that have rejected this. Reform UK, they just had a big election in the UK, and they're saying that a net stupid zero is what they're calling it. So we have these people moving away from this, including Mr. Gore. But people should get my latest book, Green Breakdown: The Coming Renewable Energy Failure, where I talk about all these energy policies that don't make any sense and are not going to have an effect on the climate.
We ought to be more concerned about turning farm fields into fields of solar panels built in China that can never be used for agriculture again because it's been compromised. We ought to concern ourselves with microplastics and pollution in the environment. Climate, not so much. Steve Gorham, really appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Look, I'm a conservationist. I'm not an environmentalist because that's an activist. I'm a conservationist. I believe in clean air, clean water, clean earth, right? I do. I hunt and fish, so I shop from God's grocery store. It's more important to me than most, all right? This is nonsense. This stuff is just nonsense. I'll be back.